You shouldn't use Davinci Resolve for all of your motion graphic needs. It has a lot of really great features, but DaVinci Resolve lacks on some really important points when it comes to motion graphics that other software just doesn't. And one of the main things that it lacks on is the fact that you can't really use vector images really well in the software. You have to import an SVG file, and when you do that, it becomes all clunky and hard to navigate when it comes to animating it and finding all of the different aspects of it. Whereas in After Effects or Calvary, you don't have to worry about that as much. After Effects, especially because it's connected and linked to Illustrator if you have Illustrator files, but you have to be careful of those things when using DaVinci Resolve. Things can become very difficult to use really easily. And even when it comes to professional motion graphics, I had a video about this a while back about things I learned doing professional motion graphics with DaVinci Resolve. And it's just a little bit clunky for me, and I think the experience could be a little bit better. But there's things that you can do to make it a little bit easier for yourself to use it for motion graphics that are also in that video of things that I learned. You should just look at the software that you have in front of you and say, is this the best software for the job that I have to get done? For example, when using branding with only Adobe fonts, there's no way that you can use DaVinci unless you're willing to pay for those fonts, like unless you're paying for those font licenses or they give you the font files. And in those cases, then you have to be using something like After Effects. But at the same time, DaVinci Resolve is really good when it comes to compositing and adding things into a scene that weren't there before. After Effects is also good at it, but DaVinci Resolve, if you want to do it all in one place, it's really amazing at compositing. It just lacks a little bit in the usability of dragging things around and making them snap to the canvas and making sure that everything looks really nice and is aligned without having to do a lot of math. And see, that's where like After Effects or Calvary really shine, is it's kind of like a drag and drop, like put it in there and start animating really quickly. But that doesn't take away from how good DaVinci Resolve is and Fusion is at doing graphics and doing animation when you know how to do it well. So I just want to share with you that you don't always have to be using Fusion for the motion graphics side of things. Sometimes you want to be using a different software just because it makes it easier for you to achieve the same result in a shorter period of time. Sometimes the only reason to use DaVinci Resolve Fusion is because you want it all in one space and you want to be able to really easily control the timing of things or control how things look. But sometimes the best option is just to create the animation elsewhere and bring it in and continuously try and move the timing to make it work really well with what you're making. So, really keep in mind the use case of the software that you have, and maybe it's better to use DaVinci and maybe it's better to use After Effects. But honestly, there's no software that's better than the other. They all have their pros and cons and their better use cases. Also, pricing makes a big difference. But definitely use both. Learn how to use both a little bit. Maybe even Calvary, because Calvary is a new one on the block that's doing a lot of really, really great things, especially when it comes to infographics and data animation. So those three softwares are like the main three softwares that I look at when I think of motion graphics. But I just want to make this and say DaVinci Resolve isn't always the best software for motion graphics, but it may be sometimes the cheapest. There's also Apple Motion that can do really, really good motion graphics. Take a look at all of the tools available for the job and think what is the best tool for the job and focus on those. And then when you do that, you'll kind of know that After Effects is good for this and DaVinci Resolve is good for that. And then you'll kind of be able to use them to your advantage when the project needs it. Let me know down in the comments of the softwares that you really like using and why, because I'm always curious to know, is there another software out there that I've never heard of? If you really enjoyed this video, leave a like down below. And if you have any questions about softwares, please let me know down in the comments. I'm happy to answer any of the ones that I can. But if you want to know what I learned after using DaVinci Resolve for a professional motion graphics project, click right here.